going to do volume with a missing dimension, which means that you are given the volume and you are missing either the base, the width, or the height. So let's look at the problem that we're going to do today. We're going to be given the volume is 15 1/3 meters cubed. And the reason it's cubed is because we are filling the space, which is 3-dimensional. Then we are given the base, which is 9 1/3 meters, and it's meters because it's just a line. 2 1/7 meters, which is the width, and we are looking for the height. And the question is, what is the height? So that's what we're going to figure out. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to title your notes. So this is the title of your notes. You can pause it. Then you are going to write down your formula. So you're going to write down your formula. Volume equals base times width times height. And we're going to fill it in. So the volume, if we look at our problem, is 15 1/3. So under the V, we are going to write 15 1/3 equals, and then we're going to look at our problem and see what the base is. So the base is 9 1/3. So underneath the B, we're going to write 9 1/3. And when they're all squished together like this, it's multiplication. So we're going to put times. And what is the width? 2 1/7. So we're going to write 2 1/7 times. And we don't know the height because that is our question, is what is the height? So we're going to keep that as H because that is our unknown. So we're going to split this up just like we split up any equation where we have a variable. We're going to make our little wall. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve whatever we can on this side first. So the first thing that I have to do is I have to turn them into improper fractions. So 9 1/3 is 3 times 9 is 27 plus 1 is 28 over the same denominator, so that's 3. And this is 7 times 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15 over the same denominator, which is 7. And I'm going to leave my H kind of just hanging out there, and I'm just going to solve these two right here. So I'm going to do that with another board so that we can do it neatly. And we're going to see if we can simplify across it all. So do you see anything that we can simplify? So yes, 3 and 15 can both be divided by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then I'm going to look across, and those have 7 in common. So I'm going to divide them both by 7. And that's a 1. And this is a 4. So it's okay if you don't see those right away. You're just going to have to simplify at the end. So we're going to multiply the tops. So we always multiply across like this. So this is 4 times 5 is 20. And 1 times 1 is 1. So we're going to keep it as 20 over 1. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to write it underneath my answer right here. So my board is small, so I'm just going to erase it, but you should write it underneath. So this is 20 over 1 times H. And then on the other side, you're still going to keep that it equals 15 1/3, because if you remember from our algebra lessons, I want you to write everything down perfectly underneath it. So this times this is this answer, H stayed the same, and this stayed the same. So since these two are touching, it's a multiplication problem. So we are going to divide. However, if you remember, we do not divide fractions. We do KCF. So I'm going to do a simple little KCF problem to remind you what it is. So if this was a third divided by 2/3, we would keep, okay, CF. Keep, change, and then we would flip this one. Now, when we flip this one, this and this is called the reciprocal. So that flipped fraction is called the reciprocal. So listen carefully, because we're big kids now. I'm going to call it, we are multiplying by the reciprocal. Because when we change it, we multiply, and when we flip it, it's called the reciprocal. So we are multiplying by the reciprocal. And I'm going to call it that right now, because when I move it over to the other side of this little wall, it's supposed to be division, which it is, but I'm going to call it multiply by the reciprocal, because that is what division of fractions is. So in your notes, I want you to write multiply by the reciprocal. So pause me and write this down. All right, so you are going to take your 15 1/3 and multiply it by 1/20, because 1/20 is the reciprocal. And I took the 15 1/3 and did 15 times 3 is 45, plus 1 is 46. So that's how I got this right here. All right, this is the hardest part of the whole thing, is the reciprocal. So you're going to see if they have anything in common. So 20 and 46 have 2 in common, so I can divide them each by 2. So this is a 10, and this is a 23. And that's already a 1, so I'm not going to simplify it at all. So 1 times 23 is 23, and 10 times 3 is 30. And this is in its simplest form already, because 23 is prime, and 30 does not go into 23. So what I'm going to do is I multiplied by the reciprocal, so this is 1/20, which crosses this one out. So this is H equals, and my answer, which was 23 over 30. And I'm going to look at my problem to see what the unit of measurement is. And everything is in meters, 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 meters. And since this is just the measurement of a line, because the height is just the line, it's just meters, because it's linear. So my answer is 23 over 30 meters. And that is my final answer.